Have you ever looked at your life and realized it was built on a single moment? A single conversation? For me, it was in a dusty, quiet bookshop on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. It was a moment so small, so simple, that I never could have imagined it would be the start of everything. And the start of my greatest heartbreak. My name is Mia, and this is the story of how I fell in love. How I was left to pick up the pieces of a life I didn't choose, and how the daughter he never wanted to know became the very person who saved us all. I was 22 when I met him. Young, full of the kind of hopeful energy you only have when the world hasn't disappointed you yet. His name was Daniel. He was 25, a simple man with a quiet smile that didn't light up a room, but instead made you feel like you were the only one in it. The bookshop was our little town's best-kept secret, a cozy place that smelled of old paper and fresh coffee. I was running my fingers over the spine of a book about interpreting dreams, and he just appeared beside me. He leaned in slightly and said, his voice soft, "That's a good one. It'll keep you up at night, though." I laughed, startled. And just like that, with that one small sentence, our story began. We became inseparable almost instantly. It was that kind of breathless, all-consuming first love. Our dates weren't fancy. We didn't have money for that. Instead, we'd meet at the park and walk for hours, or sit by the sea, watching the waves and sharing a cheap bag of fries. We talked about everything and nothing. We mapped out our entire futures on those long walks. He dreamed of opening a small bakery, one that would smell of fresh bread and cinnamon. He'd describe the look of the glass display case, the little bell that would jingle when a customer came in. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to help children discover the magic of stories. The same way I had in that little bookshop. Our dreams were small, humble, and they fit together perfectly. When I was with him, I felt seen. He listened, truly listened, my rambling thoughts and silly ideas. He never made me feel like my dreams were too small or unimportant. We had no money, no fancy apartment, nothing tangible to show for ourselves. But we had love, and in the bubble of our youth, that felt like more than enough. It felt like everything, but bubbles, as we all know, are meant to burst out. It happened on a cold evening in November. The sky was a deep, bruised purple, and a bitter wind was whipping through the trees. We were supposed to meet at our usual spot in the park. I got there early, bundled in my scarf, my heart doing that little flip it always did when I was about to see him. I waited and waited. The minutes ticked by, turning the sky from purple to black. An hour passed. My hands were numb with cold, and a knot of anxiety was tightening in my stomach. When he finally arrived, he wasn't the Daniel I knew. The quiet smile was gone, replaced by a storm cloud on his face. He walked with his shoulders hunched, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice small. He just looked at me, and his eyes were cold. "You wouldn't understand," he snapped. "You don't understand my problems? You don't even care." I was completely blindsided, shocked. "What are you talking about?" "Of course I care." "What problems? You haven't told me anything." And just like that, we had our first real fight. It was ugly and confusing. He threw vague accusations at me, and I defended myself, hurt and bewildered. We both said things we didn't mean, sharp, pointed words that were designed to wound. It was like watching two strangers scream at each other. The next day, my phone was silent. I expected a text, an apology, anything. But there was nothing. I told myself he just needed space. A week went by. The silence was deafening. I replayed our fight over and over in my head, trying to figure out what I had done wrong. Another week passed. I finally swallowed my pride and called him. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I sent him a text, my hands shaking. "Daniel, please. Let's just talk." No reply. I waited. For weeks, I did nothing but wait, my heart a heavy stone in my chest. I hoped with every fiber of my being that he would come back, that we could fix whatever was broken, but he never did. He just vanished from my life, and then, just as the pain of his absence was starting to settle into a dull, constant ache, something else happened. Something that would change the course of my life forever. I started feeling sick in the mornings. I was tired all the time, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion I couldn't shake. My body felt different, foreign dot with a sense of dread. I made an appointment with the doctor. I remember sitting on the crinkly paper of the examination table, my heart pounding in my ears. The doctor, a kind woman with gentle eyes, came in and looked at my chart. Then she looked at me and gave me a soft smile. "Well, Mia," she said, "congratulations. You're pregnant." The world tilted. The air left my lungs. Pregnant. I was going to have a baby. His baby? I felt a dizzying mix of terror and a tiny, flickering spark of something else. Wonder, but mostly terror. I was 22, jobless, and utterly alone. I walked home in a daze, the doctor's words echoing in my head. I sat on my bed, holding the confirmation papers, and I cried until I had no tears left. After a few days of living in a fog of fear and confusion, I knew what I had to do. I had to tell him. He deserved to know. He had to know. I wrote him a letter. I poured my heart out, telling him everything. I sent it to his last known address. I waited. Nothing. Finally, desperate, I created a new social media account and found him. I sent him a message, my fingers trembling so hard I could barely type. "Daniel, please. I need to talk to you. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity, waiting for the little dots that would mean he was typing a reply. Instead, a moment later, the message status changed. I couldn't send him anything else. He had blocked me, just like that. He knew, and he chose to slam the door, leaving me completely and utterly alone on the other side. Time became a blur. My belly grew, a constant, living reminder of the man who had abandoned me. I had to move back home with my parents. I can still see the look on their faces when I told them, a heartbreaking mix of sadness, disappointment, and fierce protective love. They took me in without a second thought. My mother would sit with me late at night when my anxieties kept me awake. My father took on extra shifts at his job to help buy a crib and tiny baby clothes. The guilt was a heavy cloak I wore every single day, but their love was the only thing holding me together. Then my daughter was born. I named her Emily. The moment they placed her in my arms, the whole world fell away. She was so tiny, so perfect. She had a little patch of soft brown hair and Daniel's eyes. As I held her, warm and breathing against my chest, the tears came again, but this time they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of overwhelming, unconditional love. In that moment, I knew. It didn't matter what I had to do. I would protect this little girl with my life. Our first few weeks together were a beautiful, sleepy haze. But that peace was shattered during one of her routine checkups. The doctor came in with a serious expression. There was a problem. Emily had a congenital heart defect, a hole in her heart. She would need specialized medicine, constant monitoring, and likely surgery down the road. The medicine was astronomically expensive. I tried desperately to find a job, any job, but who wants to hire a young, single mother with a sick newborn who needs round-the-clock care? My small savings disappeared in a matter of weeks. I started selling anything of value, my clothes, my books, a small necklace my grandmother had given me. I started skipping meals, eating only toast and tea, so I could afford Emily's prescriptions. My parents helped as much as they could, but they were already stretched so thin. Every night, I would rock Emily to sleep and cry silently in the dark, my tears falling onto her little head. The weight of it all was crushing me. Finally, I hit rock bottom. I had no other choice. I found a way to contact Daniel through one of his old email addresses. I swallowed my pride, my anger, all of it. I wrote, "Daniel, Emily is your daughter. She's sick. She has a heart condition. Please, I'm begging you for help. I'm not angry anymore. I just need your support. She needs her father." For days, there was no reply. I had almost given up hope when a short, cold message finally appeared in my inbox. "I'll send $100 a month. That's all I can do. $100. I knew from a mutual friend that he had a good job in real estate now. He was making good money, and all he could offer his sick daughter was $100. It was a slap in the face. It was barely enough to cover a fraction of her medical costs. But I took it. I had to. Every month, I waited for that small deposit like it was a lifeline. Sometimes it was late. A few times it didn't come at all, and I would spiral into a panic. But through it all, there was Emily. She was the light in my darkness. Even when she was in pain, she would smile. She would laugh at the birds outside the window. She loved it when I sang to her, and she would hug me with all her tiny might every morning. She was my reason to keep fighting. Years went by like this. A slow, grinding struggle for survival. Then, one afternoon, my world tilted on its axis all over again. A friend was scrolling through her phone and said, "Mia, isn't this that guy? Daniel?" She showed me the screen. It was an article on a business website. The headline read, "Local real estate mogul Daniel Stevens hits millionaire milestone." I stared at the picture. It was him, older, more polished, wearing an expensive suit and a confident smile. He was a millionaire. I fell down a rabbit hole, searching his name online. He was married now. He had a new family, a wife, and 2 healthy children. He had a sprawling mansion, a fleet of luxury cars. His social media was a gallery of his wealth, lavish vacations, designer clothes, extravagant gifts for his wife. One photo showed a diamond ring that cost more than my parents' house. Another showed a sports car worth more than Emily would ever see in her lifetime. I sat there, in my small, cramped room, looking at the peeling wallpaper, and I just broke. The injustice of it all was a physical pain. My daughter, his daughter, was fighting for every breath. I was rationing food to afford her medicine, and he was living like a king, completely oblivious, completely uncaring. That night, fueled by years of pent-up pain and fury, I sent him one last message. I found his business contact form online. I wrote, "Emily is still sick. Your daughter is still sick. I see the pictures of your life, your cars, your vacations. How can you live in such comfort while your firstborn child is in pain?" Why? I didn't expect a reply. And this time, he didn't even bother to block me. There was just silence, the most profound, cruel silence of all. And that's when I knew I couldn't be silent anymore. I shared our story. I wrote everything down, posting it on a community forum online. I wrote about our young love, his disappearance, and his refusal to help our sick daughter even after becoming a millionaire. I posted pictures of Emily's medical bills next to screenshots of his luxury lifestyle. It exploded. The story went viral. People were horrified. News outlets picked it up. His name, once associated with success, was now associated with neglect. People flooded his company's pages with questions. Why do you buy a new Porsche but not life-saving medicine for your child? A part of me hoped this public shame would be the thing to finally make him act. But then came the backlash. People started attacking me. Why are you doing this now, only after he's rich? You're just a gold digger. You're trying to ruin his life. Those words cut me deeper than I could have imagined. I wasn't after his money for myself. I didn't want to ruin him. I just wanted him to see his daughter, to help her. That was all done in the end. All the noise, all the articles, all the public outrage. It changed nothing. Daniel didn't call. He didn't send a message. He didn't apologize. And the $100 a month, that stopped too. I was left with more pain, more shame, and more silence than before. So I stopped fighting that war. I deleted the post. I retreated from the world. I held my beautiful Emily close, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "It's just us now, baby girl. And we are going to be okay. I promise." 2 more years passed. Emily was 5. She was a little warrior. She still had her good days and her bad days, but she was stronger. She discovered a love for drawing. Our tiny apartment was covered in her colorful pictures of smiling animals and giant, happy flowers. I stopped thinking about Daniel. I built a wall around that part of my heart. There was no more room for anger or pain. Every ounce of my energy was for Emily Dodd, and then, when I was least expecting it, something beautiful happened. I met Mark. He worked at the little grocery store down the street. He was quiet, kind, with laugh lines around his eyes. He saw me come in every other day, looking tired and stressed. One evening, as I was paying for my groceries, he just looked at me and said, "You always look so tired. Are you okay?" It was such a simple, kind question, it almost made me cry. I smiled. "I have a daughter," I said. "She keeps me on my toes." That's how it started. We'd chat for a few minutes each time I was in the store. He asked about Emily, and he listened, really listened, as I told him about our life, about her heart. He never flinched. He never looked scared or overwhelmed. He just said, "She must be a very strong little girl, just like her mother." We became friends, and then slowly, gently, we became something more. Mark wasn't afraid of our complicated, messy life. He started coming with me to Emily's hospital appointments. He'd sit in the waiting room for hours just to be there. He'd bring Emily her favorite picture books and make her laugh with silly puppet shows. She started calling him Uncle Mark. Then one day, she just started calling him Mark. One evening, Emily was sitting on his lap, showing him one of her drawings. She looked up at him with her big, serious eyes and asked, "Mark, can you be my dad?" I watched as tears welled up in his eyes. He hugged her tight and whispered, "I would love that more than anything in the world, sweet girl." A year later, Mark asked me to marry him, and I said yes. We had a tiny wedding in my parents' backyard. Emily was our flower girl, beaming in a little white dress. We moved into a small rented house. It wasn't a mansion, but it was ours. It was a home filled with peace, laughter, and love. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. And then, one morning, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. My heart stopped. "Mia, this is Daniel. I know it's been a long time. I've made terrible mistakes. I want to see my daughter." I stared at the screen, the words blurring. Why now? After all this time? After all this pain? I showed the message to Mark. He read it, then looked at me, his expression calm and steady. "It's your choice, Mia," he said, taking my hand. "Whatever you decide, I'm right here with you." I thought about it for days. The anger was still there, buried deep. But so was a small, nagging thought. Emily deserved to know her story. After a week, I replied, "You can meet her, but if you hurt her again, you will never see her again." We met in the park, the same park where we'd had our last terrible fight. He was already there, waiting on a bench. He looked different, older, tired. He was dressed in simple jeans and a sweater. No expensive watch, no flashy car. Just him. Emily, holding my hand and Mark's, walked shyly toward him. Daniel knelt, his eyes filling with tears as he looked at the beautiful little girl he had never known. "Hi, Emily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I brought you something." He opened a bag and pulled out a soft, stuffed rabbit. Emily looked to me for permission. I nodded. She slowly took the rabbit. "Thank you," she whispered Dot, and then Daniel broke. He pulled her into a gentle hug and just sobbed, holding his daughter for the very first time. He looked up at me, his face streaked with tears. "I'm sorry, Mia," he choked out. "I was a coward. I ran away from everything. I thought money would fix it, that it would make the guilt go away, but it just made it worse. I missed everything, and I will regret it for the rest of my life." He then handed me a set of keys in a folder. "This is a house," he said. "It's yours. It's near the best children's hospital. And this," he tapped the folder, "is a trust. For Emily, all of her medical care, her education, everything. It's taken care of. Forever." I was speechless. "I just want to be in her life," he pleaded. "If you'll let me." I looked at Mark, who gave me a small, encouraging smile. I looked at Emily, who was stroking the soft ears of her new rabbit. And I looked at this broken man, who was finally ready to face the truth. "Let's take this slow," I said. "But yes, you can be in her life." And he was. He visited every week. He didn't try to buy her love with expensive gifts. He gave her his time. He took her to the zoo. He taught her how to ride a bike. He never missed a single doctor's appointment. Emily started calling Mark Dad because he was the one there every day. And she started calling Daniel Papa. One day, his wife, Claire, came to our house. She was kind and gentle. "Thank you," she said to me. "You could have kept him away, but you didn't, Emily. She's changed him. She made him a better man." Our lives became this strange, beautiful, blended thing. Mark and Daniel became friends, united by their shared love for this incredible little girl. And my Emily, my little warrior, she blossomed. With the best medical care, her health improved dramatically. She was happy. She was loved. One evening, she was sitting with me, looking at the stars. "Mama," she said, "am I lucky?" "Why do you ask, sweetie?" She smiled. "Because I have 2 dads, and they both love me." I pulled her into a hug, my heart so full it felt like it might burst. "Yes, my love," I whispered. "You are the luckiest girl in the world, and they are so, so lucky to have you." Looking back, I see it all so clearly. The pain had a purpose. It made me stronger. The struggle taught me what truly matters. And my daughter, the little girl born from heartbreak and abandonment, she wasn't a mistake. She was a miracle. She was the light that guided us all out of the dark.